RK, what are we talking about today?
Next question. Let's go.
Welcome into the Toyota Lounge, driven by your front range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
All right. Why are you only hanging in there?
It's just there's a lot going on right now.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. I'm not complaining.
I love it. A lot going on. I'm ready for football. We're getting close. It's my last my last show for a couple days. Mm-hmm. So I'm cherishing the ability to talk about Colorado football today.
Well, we're going to miss you as much as you miss us. I guarantee it.
All right. I appreciate that.
Today was day 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
Day 13 of camp at Colorado. We caught up with our guy, Uncle Neely, and I think we learned some valuable information today.
Yeah, I mean, not just from Neely, but from Coach Sapp, also from Coach J. Phil.
Yep.
And I think we're starting to see a little bit of a picture into what this team's going to look like on the field.
Yep, definitely. We'll get to the top six receiver rotation when we talk about Phillips, but some things from Uncle Neely today. Charlie still projected to start if there was a game on Thursday, but as Uncle Neely said, I think last time we spoke to him, that gap is closing quickly.
It is, but then rewind to the last time we talked to Coach Flea.
Mm-hmm.
He said he wants to have 2 running backs.
Yep.
So is Charlie going to go from 1 to 3 and be out of the rotation entirely?
I don't think so.
I don't know, but I find it hard to imagine the guy who's getting the lion's share of the first team reps then going completely off the map.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that they can only use 2 running backs against North Dakota State, but I find it to be interesting just that I fully believe that Micah and Dallin are gaining on Charlie.
I agree.
I also think Charlie's ability and talent is being shoved aside a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I had to guess now, Charlie is still going to be used and featured against North Dakota State.
No, I agree. I don't think that you can erase the last 8-ish months or so and what they have in Charlie and just like kick him to the side. I mean, I think he's definitely carved out a role for himself in this backfield. He can do a variety of things. And I think that it's just, we knew this was going to happen too, though, you know, that the other running backs in this competition were going to make their case, that they were going to make some noise, and that's exactly what they're doing. You know, Uncle Neely said Micah was probably one of his players of the last few days or of the scrimmage on Saturday.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so you've got a situation here where there's really 4 guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you add in Isaiah Augustave, 4 players who seem to have a say in this.
Yeah.
Seem to are going to factor in. But Charlie, who has now been kind of the leader in the clubhouse for a couple weeks now, and so I think what you're going to see is a heavy dose of Charlie. Again, just talking about week 1 here. A heavy dose of Charlie, and then a mix of the other guys.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of almost as a dress rehearsal of all of this. Is like, are we going with Charlie and someone else? What if Micah and Dallin both ball out? What if Isaiah Augustave goes out there and runs for 90 yards? Then you have to rethink things because, like we talked about yesterday, unfortunately, Colorado in college football, you don't get the opportunity to play, preseason games or scrimmages other than against each other. So one of these guys might be a real baller. You got to find out by putting them out there against North Dakota State. And so there's going to be more of a mix in that game. But I do think that we're going to see a heavy dose of Charlie.
But I also think it goes back to a lot of what we heard from just in general about this team, what Coach Fleas said about his running backs, and they're just deeper. They just have better talent in the room, or they like the room more from a talent perspective this year as it stands right now. So I don't think you go into a season having said that and then not fully getting to see what that depth looks like in game action too.
Yes, 100%. So there you go. That's, I guess, the way I'm seeing things at running back right now.
Mm-hmm. He also said JB, another player who's been impressing.
Why don't we start? Well, let's stay on offense, and then we'll go to defense.
Okay, Tyler Brown at right tackle.
Yeah. That feels like final to me at this point. Again, feels like I'm going off of what I feel, not what I know. But from everything I heard last week, they made that shakeup. They moved Tyler to right tackle. They moved Khalil Benson to right guard. That's kind of been the 5. They made that shakeup. Of course, that meant Justin Mayers to left guard.
Mm-hmm.
From everything I've heard, that was the best the offensive line has looked all camp.
Yep.
And so they felt like they found something there. Then they go into the scrimmage. Tyler's at right tackle. You go into this week. Tyler's at right tackle. To me, that's about as much confirmation as I need to think that they're feeling like that's their 5 going in.
Yep.
And that's the way it's going to shake out.
Yep, I agree. I think that's something that kind of got lost in the fallout of last year, just what happened to Tyler. And we kind of talked about it, I think, in the lead up to last year. Well, obviously, we didn't get to see it too much, but his versatility. I mean, coming into Colorado, he kind of played multiple positions on that offensive line. Now we finally get to see that fleshed out a bit more. And Tyler's just proven himself right, that he can kind of play and fit in, be that swing tackle, if you will, or just, the breaking case of emergency guy that you have to move if something goes wrong on the offensive line.
For Tyler?
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that, but if you're going to put him as your starting right tackle, don't you want to keep him there?
I mean, yeah, but what happens if one of the guards goes down and you know that he's worked at guard?
Yeah, I mean, the question is which guard, who's most suited to move out, because maybe you would rather go Tyler Johnson at the guard position and keep Tyler Brown there.
That's true. To the defensive side of the ball.
One more on offense.
Dominic Ponder making a real push for QB2.
Yep. We kind of seen it. I mean,
yeah,
it's so hard to evaluate a camp from just watching highlights, but when one guy keeps popping up in the highlights, it's usually a good thing for him. So shout out Dominic Ponder, man. He's come out there kind of out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Balled out.
Yeah.
Throwing some great passes. Seems to be liked by his teammates. Maybe a diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm. And kind of like the situation with Charlie at running back, Staub came into fall camp with a decent lead, and that's what we heard in spring football too, was that no one else in the quarterback room was really able to push Staub for that QB2 position. Ponder comes in after being added to the roster, and now you're seeing that his size and ability is really standing out, and he's able to really sling it all over the field. Defensive side of the ball, JB stock up for Uncle Neely too. He said he's been one of the players of the week or of the last few days, really. But with that, he also said the linebackers are still Trevor Woods and Levante Bentley with the ones.
Yeah. I wonder where we haven't got to talk to Coach Hart in fall camp yet.
Not yet.
And I would like to know how he feels, because when that's why I asked Jay Phil today about the wide receivers. Mm-hmm. I guess we needed to go over that on offense too. But it's nice to know from the coach how they want it to work out. Mm-hmm. Coach Flea talked about 2 running backs. He wants to have 2 running backs. Maybe for Coach Hart, it's a lot more specialized. And so, yes, Trevor and Levante can be your 1-2 punch, but in this package or that package or this down and distance and that down and distance, we like to have these guys. JB, I think, has, from everything we've heard, really started to learn the position a lot better. But his most valuable asset is going to be chasing after the quarterback.
Yes.
So 3rd and 13, maybe you would rather have him out there.
Sure.
And so that's what I want to hear from Coach Hart when we get the opportunity to talk to him.
That's all we've heard about Coach Livingston's defense, though, is that they just want to get guys in the best positions to allow them to succeed. Well, with JB, I guess it could be that simple. Look at what he does best, and that's rushing the passer and attacking the line of scrimmage on blitzes and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if during games and throughout the season he plays a massive role, even if it's not a quote-unquote starter role.
Yep.
You mentioned Coach J. Phil, and you asked him the question, right?
Yes.
About the top 6.
Well, I just asked him, how many guys do you want to have? First of all, I asked who is standing out to him. Mm-hmm. He didn't really answer. Then I said, how many guys do you see as part of the rotation? The question was, how do you decide between having a set group and getting everyone and letting everyone eat? And he said they decide that based off of their film, which I thought was a great answer. And then I said, how many guys do you think are in the rotation? He said somewhere between 6 and 8.
Yep. And so we kind of asked Uncle Neely and we theorized who the top 6 are. Travis, Jimmy, LeJonte, Will, Omari Miller, and it sounds like Terrell Timmons is now in that rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll get to the sound too. And Coach talked about the young receivers, but they've been making noise, but they haven't yet been able to break that rotation, it seems.
Well, I think that they are, especially Draylon.
Yes.
I think that he is breaking into the rotation. To me, that's 7.
Mm-hmm.
He's, that's why he said between 6 and 8, is because there's a couple more guys in there that you don't want to tell them that their door is closed. There's I would honestly say there's probably a top 5. And really there's a clear top 4, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And then beyond that, it's like, who's going to work their ass off and get in there? We talked yesterday about Draylon and his, the ability to create packages for him and ask him to do different things that some of these guys don't do. So that's where I think you get the idea of 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 locks, 2 good rotational pieces, and then the opportunity for 2 more guys to say, hey, look, you're not keeping me off the field. I'm a playmaker.
Yep. And as we know, things always evolve during the season. I mean, Omarion didn't really break in until Travis was hurt, and they had to just kind of go through the depth against USC, and that's when he kind of broke out too. So
yeah. And someone mentioned Cordell Russell. I don't know what to make of where he's at now, just because he was banged up a little bit at the beginning of camp.
And again, he's a young guy, like
very young.
He's still learning a lot. And it's a new offense for him. Last year at TCU, he wasn't able to see the field, but we know what he is. Obviously, it's the size and the speed, the recruiting pedigree. So it does feel like that's only a matter of time for him before he starts to make his case known and potentially earn some playing time early in the season as well.
Yep. By the way, switched Cordell Russell to tight end in my dynasty. Won the Mackey Award.
I mean, I totally get it. Size and speed's a cheat code in this game.
Yes, it is.
Last thing from Uncle Neely, too, Tajay McCoy. Sounds like he's legitimately making noise.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear. Just because we've heard the name going all the way back to the end of last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Nick Williams who kind of put a stamp on him, and the last time we spoke with him, Tajay just kind of keeps his head down, keeps working, gets hyped through spring, gets a little hype heading into fall camp, and now it feels like it's kind of all coming together for him. So I think Neely, what did Neely say? He's going to make plays or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like this is what I talk about a lot. You have to get found money in college football. You got to have players that you're not necessarily counting on jump out and jump up. Mm-hmm. And with this pass rush group, there are so many options for guys like that. Nikhil Webb-Walker, Tajay McCoy. You go down the list. Quincy Wiggins, I think, could be a found money type of player. when they hit, that's how you win big.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have guys who you're almost looking to replace. And that's not a knock on Tajay. It's just like when a freshman comes in and doesn't immediately blow everyone away, it's like you're still thinking about that as a need.
Right.
When you get guys who erase a need just based off of their own development and how they come as a player, it's found money.
Mm-hmm.
You just found a little gem. And so if Tajay McCoy, let's just say, got 3 sacks this year,
Yeah.
it would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's a just out of nowhere kind of addition to that group.
Yep. And it showed that we just have depth on depth, and that's something that Coach Sapp talked about. And we will get into it.
Arden, another great one.
Arden, of course.
Got a shout out yesterday.
I mean, he had a few plays in some of the recent well-offs, too. He's still got something on his hand, but he's out there getting after the passer.
Yep.
All right. Shout out to our new friends over at Z-Biotics. After a night out drinking, I'm older now. I don't bounce back the same as I used to. So that's why I use Z-Biotics. It's a pre-alcohol drink that helps you feel just dandy the next morning. Vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions. There's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/DNVR Buffs to get 15% off your first order. When you use DNVR Buffs at checkout, pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/DNVR Buffs50. Use that code DNVR Buffs50 at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Hell yeah. Take care of yourself out there, guys.
Tailgate season and all that. You got to be ready.
You can't just like walk into tailgate season unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're, 26, 27, every year it just gets worse.
Yep, it does.
It doesn't get any easier from here. You gotta be prepared come game day. Speaking of being prepared come game day,
yeah,
I'm always prepared come game day because my Toyota gets me wherever I need to be, whether that is up to the field in Boulder, to practice today, to the liquor store before the game, or to get some Z-Biotics.
Yep.
Of course, if I was going to the liquor store before the game, I wouldn't be getting my Toyota after the game, but that's aside from the point. The point is that Toyota is safe, reliable, amazing, best possible car that I've ever had in my life. Couldn't be more excited about my Toyota. Couldn't be more excited to add to my family of Toyota, which is just a one-person family now, but will grow as my bank account does. So, shout out to Toyota. If you are looking to join the Toyota family, make sure you visit a Toyota store near you, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. Down goes my backpack.
You want to start with Coach Sapp or Coach Phillips?
Oh, your call, man.
Let's go with Coach Sapp. Again, this is all up on our YouTube channel. You can go check it out. He was great today. Vintage Coach Sapp, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get into it. First one.
3, is that right?
Huh?
I only have 3 sound bites. Is that right?
2 from each.
I have 2 from Sapp, not 1 from Phillips.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Sapp on the D-line depth, though.
Okay, got it.
Here's Coach Sapp on the depth of that defensive line.
A lot of depth. We're trying to develop some depth right now. We got 5 ends that'll rush. I tell them we got 5 ends on a 2-lane highway, so y'all better fight for those reps because they're going to go fast. They're going to go fast. And inside, we just building depth and, want the guys to be nice and solid because the one thing that I did see last year before I turned the TV off was we couldn't stop the run, and that won't happen with me here. No. We're going to earn our right to rush by stopping the run.
That won't happen with me.
That is a big-time claim. And he said it with so much confidence that it gave me confidence.
Yep.
Remember when we were in, I believe it was the Omni Hotel. No, it wasn't. We were at the Omni. Maybe it was the Marriott in downtown Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. We sat there and we talked to Coach Flea and we talked to Coach Hart and we talked to
Coach
Brew. And we walked away from that being like, they're going to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even feel like there's any doubt in anyone's mind that they're going to go win tomorrow.
Yep.
That when he said that, it just gave me like a flashback to that.
I love that.
It wasn't, if I have anything to say about it, that's not going to happen anymore. It was so short and to the point. That's not happening with me. Mm-hmm. We're going to earn our right to rush the passer by stopping the run. And what a great way of looking at it from a defensive lineman who obviously sacks pay the bills. If you don't get a stop in the run game on first or second down, you're not getting to rush the passer on third down because they're just going to play quick game, and you're not going to have any time to get there. You get 3rd and 8, which is something that you earn by the work that you put in on first and second down. Now you get to go out there and pay your bills by getting sacks.
Yep, exactly. He also said in that clip, we got 5 ends that are rushing. Do we want to go through and try and project the 5?
That's what this show's all about today.
BJ Green, Sammy Sachs, Dayon Hayes,
yes, Arden,
Tajay McCoy,
yes,
Tajay McCoy, and then Arden.
I think so.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
If it's not top, I don't even really necessarily want to go down that road just because of the way that Neely spoke about him today. But who else would you think would be in there?
I mean, we've talked about Tristan Murray a bit. He's made some plays in the spring game. He's emerging as like a vocal leader.
Yes.
You've got Quincy Wiggins, who you've mentioned, Nikhai Webb-Walker, Keaton Wade's in the conversation as well. So, and then I think he spoke a lot about Shane Cokes today as well. I don't think he's playing truly on the edge, but he's obviously more outside than he was last year than playing inside, you know?
Yep. Also, guys, I shouldn't have to say this, but don't fight with each other in the comments. We're all Buffs fans here.
Please chill.
We can disagree. We don't have to argue. We don't have to fight. And also, just make sure that you're rooting for the guys on the team.
Yes. I think that's all the defensive ends, basically, right?
Yeah.
Next clip from Coach Sapp.
Oh, Keaton Wade.
Keaton Wade, yeah, I said him.
Okay.
I think, did you ask this? You asked him who stood out to you?
Yes.
So Coach Sapp shared who's been balling out of practice.
Who in your room specifically, individually, has stood out the most to you?
I wouldn't single out one guy because we're a pack. You know, my five ends on a 2-lane highway. That's nice and good. And then with the last 2 tackles with Buell and the young fella, we'll be 6 deep. You know, because Shane and big boy 90 Deuce Barnes, and then we got Kadoji in there, and then working with Buell, and then one more. Who am I forgetting? TC and the other kid. Yeah, I mean we just mixing and matching them. We got bullets. You get shot with a 38 or a 9mm, you pick it.
I wish I could say that people didn't take that out of context.
I thought it was funny.
It was hilarious. We're taking. We don't have to go down this road today, really, but we're taking everything so seriously. If any other coach in the country on any other team said that, no one would have even thought twice about it.
I know.
But as someone said, you have to respect On 3 for the engagement baiting because they didn't say anything about it. They just posted the clip knowing that everyone else would take care of their fucking dirty business.
Of course.
But my God, man, it is crazy the way that people, because I like made a joke about it being like, just so you guys know, Coach Sapp isn't actually giving them weapons to take out on the field. It's a metaphor, a figure of speech. People are like, yeah, but inappropriate metaphor. It's like, what are we doing?
It's classic picking one sentence out of an entire like paragraph's worth of a quote.
It just doesn't even matter though. No one else is having their metaphors analyzed.
No, it's crazy. Coach Sapp also spoke about the competition at practice. He said, we believe in iron sharpens iron. Like Mike Tyson, we all got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, but that's what practice is for. On his inspiration to join Colorado staff, he said, when me and Prime were first talking about it, it never dawned on me until the players started talking to me. And we've heard that from him numerous times.
Yep.
When he came and stopped by last year during camp, and how the guys just gravitated towards him and wanted to draw all the information, all the knowledge out of him as much as possible, really. On to Coach.
Well, and I just loved what he said. Like, he said, I've had NFL players who got my number and said, I'm going to come hit you up when I come down to Miami. And he's like, they could be working out a mile away from my house and never hit me up. these kids are calling me at 5:30 a.m. saying, hey, will you come watch film with me?
Yep.
That's awesome. It honestly reminds me a lot of Coach Prime talking about the need to be needed.
Yep.
And, not to act like I'm some sort of psychologist or something, but I think there's something to be said about being a star player your whole life where you're always needed. You're Coach Prime, you're Coach Sapp. Every single time you set foot on the field, your teammates needed you, your coaches needed you. Everyone was looking to you to be an important figure for them in that game.
Yep.
And I think that's something why it hit so right for Coach Prime when Rick George essentially didn't interview him for the job, but pitched him on why Colorado football needed him.
Yeah.
And there's that feeling of like, oh man, I like this. I like that they're coming to me to help them. That's what I'm good at. I've done it my whole life for every team I've ever been on.
Yep.
I think Sapp the same way. It's like when you're in the league and there's a rookie and he's like trying to stick around, like he needs you. When it's third down and you got to get a big stop, your teammates need you and they're looking at Sapp. They're saying he's going to go do it for us. When you leave the game and you're just on your couch, like he said, you don't feel that as much. And so I think going back in and being in that hot tub as those guys are just like, oh, tell us this, tell us that. What about this story? What about that? It's like, oh man, I love this feeling.
Yeah.
I'm needed again.
Yep. Perfectly said. Coach Phillips was also great on the podium today. He was asked about Will Shepherd and just his impact. As we've noticed, it's been immediate, but here's Coach Phillips talking about it.
I've seen everything that we anticipated seeing when we brought him in here. He has a level of physicality coming from the SEC that we desperately need in that room. And obviously his experience is the biggest thing. Guy played a lot of football, so he has something to add to the room as far as knowledge and experience. So he's been doing that role. He's got very strong hands. So we're just excited about him being here and just put him in the mix with all the other guys that we have and just letting his talent speak for itself.
Just as advertised, basically. The player you saw at Vanderbilt, the player that you scouted coming out of the portal is the player Colorado got.
I love it. And I also love what he said about physicality there and how he brings a toughness and an ability to make contested catches. And when you're Will Shepherd playing in the SEC, nothing is easy for you because it's not easy if he's a crazy fast player or whatever where he's getting schemed open. No, he's running slants and having to use his body to box out a really good, probably future first-round pick to make plays. And so there's part of me that's like excited for him to be able to shoot a basketball after a medicine ball. I use that a lot, but it's like, just feels easy after you've been shooting a 10-pound ball to shoot a regular basketball. There's part of me that's excited for him for that, but there's another part of me that's just like, he's not going to find a matchup where he's like, oh, this is harder than anything I've ever faced before.
Right.
And he's going to be so used to going in there and sticking his nose into the play to go out and come out with a football and move the chains.
Yep. I asked Coach Phillips about Draylon and Cam, what he's seen from those young guys, and
those strong hands, I think he mentioned too.
He did, yes.
Goes a long way.
Well, that's kind of what Will talked about too, about going up and getting the football.
Yep.
I mean, that's all about strong hands and being strong in general, really.
Yep. Well, and I just think of like keeping it away from a defender. I'm just imagining it's 3rd and 4, they run a slant. Shador's going to put it in the right spot, but it's like you got to get your arms out away from you and hold that ball so you can, get down and move the chains.
Yep. But here's Coach Phillips on the young wide receivers that Colorado has.
What have you seen from your young guys in Draylon and Cam?
Young guys, the experience for those guys, obviously they're tremendous football players, came in here with a lot of hype. That hasn't been disappointing, and because they've embraced this opportunity like I've never seen any other freshmen before at other places I've been. It's just a matter of them getting comfortable within their own skins and learning the schemes and the things that we're doing. So, their future will be bright. Just right now, they're on the right track right now as far as learning and then adapting to college football.
Haven't been disappointing because they've embraced this opportunity like I've never seen any other freshman before.
Big time. And again, maybe that's why he's at 6 to 8.
Yes.
Because he's thinking, man, if Cam and Draylon can make some noise here, we might just have to get them out there and open the rotation up to 8. But I loved what he said about just those guys embracing the opportunity. Obviously, he alluded to the fact that they're young and they've got a lot to learn. But Colorado has the luxury of only asking them to do what they know. Mm-hmm. You don't have to ask Draylen Miller to go out there and play 50 snaps. You can say, be really great at these 8 plays.
Yep.
And you're going to get the ball on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So execute at the highest possible level. You're not going to do that quite yet. And that's what Neely was talking about today is like, we're still in the give everyone a chance phase of camp.
Yes.
Starting Friday is going to kind of be your last chance to take that chance and run with it. And so that's when you start paring down and say, okay, look, you're not going to be a starting wide receiver, but we want you to be really good at this package of plays.
Yep. I mean, Coach Phillips is obviously trying to manage expectations a little bit, but I think he perked up a bit when he got to talk about Draylen and Cam, and he's very excited about the near future and the future with them.
Future's very bright.
All right, let's take another break and shout out to our friends over at Lucy Nicotine. Other nicotine pouches are hard to find. Lucy is not hard to find. They got the breakers. They got the gum also if the pouches aren't your thing. And they got a ton of different flavors. I'm a big fan of the mango. RK likes the apple or the mint, right? You're a mint guy?
Yes.
We got a few apple ice
Gotta
guys.
Stop putting me on the Apple thing.
You're not about it?
No.
Well, we've got a few guys in the office who are about it. So.
Yes.
They got a variety pack too, so if you guys want to try out a bunch of different flavors and be stocked up for a few weeks, they got you covered there. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/buffs, BUFFS. Use that promo code BUFFS, and you'll get 20% off your first order. They also offer free shipping and have a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use code BUFFS to get 20% off and always free shipping. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Order is age verified.
Also,
Bet365.
Bet365. Shout out Bet365. Man, I just feel like there's a lot of money to be made on the Buffs this year.
Oh, yeah.
Bet responsibly. Bet only what you would be willing to lose, but bet confidently in the Buffs if you're taking my advice. Whether you're looking at the spread in week 1, whether you're looking at the over-under win total, the alternate over-under win total, which you can buy up a little bit. There's a lot of fun options to be in on the Buffs. Heck, I'm in on Shedeur Sanders to win the Heisman. I'm in on Shedeur Sanders to go number 1 overall. There's so much fun stuff out there, and I think it's a little more fun when your team wins when you get a direct benefit from it. So you can do that, or you can be like some of my friends who like to emotionally hedge so that they have the other side available to them. If things don't go well, at least they get some sort of benefit. Whatever it is, do it over at Bet365. And you can use the code DNVR365 when you sign up to deposit $10 and unlock the bet and get offer. Place a bet of $5 or more and get $150 in bonus bets. And again, you can put those on whatever you want. Put those on Buffs to win the Natty and get a ton of money if that were to happen. So, of course, you must be 21 and older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Real quick, I just
Go for it.
I know you asked if I had anything else for segment 3, and I said no, so I lied.
Okay, let's hear it.
We I sometimes just like to check in on our Denver media and what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it so interesting today. I just feel like sometimes they're so behind on the conversation. The conversation I heard today was, is it a failure for this team to not make a bowl game? To me, it's almost insulting to ask the question. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Like yes, obviously. I don't think anyone would debate that.
I mean, again, this is just people not paying attention, obviously.
But that's what I mean is they're just so late to the game. Like we're talking about if not making a bowl is a disappointment or a failure of a season. Like yes, in fact, anyone who's not in the anyone who feels like they have a team in front of them should feel that way.
Definitely.
Last year, you take over the worst program in college football. You go from 1 to 4, and as we've talked about many times, it very easily could have been 6. The obvious, logical next step in the program would be to get to a bowl game or better.
Yep. I mean, that's the whole Coach Prime is talking about taking Peggy to a bowl since what, January, December?
Yeah.
That's been the very, at least the benchmark, the bottom benchmark. Obviously, we're shooting for higher, but
Yeah.
they just don't pay attention to the roster. They don't pay attention to what's gone on. all their narratives are like you said, like 6 months behind at least.
Yes.
So it is what it is. That's why we're here.
Yeah, no, it was just like a reminder of the world that existed before we did this show. And, we're not the only content creators who are putting stuff out every day, but it's like,
sure,
I'm just so thankful that there's actually people who are paying attention rather than the people who hear about a spicy press conference. And so then they watch the press conference and then they have to start talking about the team that they have not paid any attention to.
Yep.
Like, if anyone, and they're giving like record predictions.
I know.
How can you give record predictions about a team? You got to at least tell me who LeJohntay Wester is, where he came from, and what his accolades are before you could give a record prediction.
Yeah, can you name like even half of the offensive starters?
No,
like
God, no, dude, no.
It's crazy, man. Well, I guess kind of sticking with the media thing, our guy, Dukes the Scoop, put out a video yesterday on the CBS controversy, and he broke it down beautifully. Just basically saying that it's what we've talked about so much with Coach Prime. It's relationships, and specific breakdown of the word foul, and what that meant, and what Coach Prime meant by that. And it goes beyond like not doing what you were going to say. It's you also kind of stabbed me in the back at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with what Duke said, which is like you can't always share everything, even though if you know something. But he was willing to go further, and I'm sure had good reason to do that than we were. So just what he said essentially was that there was a project being worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Prime's side of the project did their part. CBS's side didn't do their part, and kind of backed out in an interesting way that Coach Prime found to be foul.
So just 100% to clear it all up, it was not about the coach rankings.
And you've got to be so dense to think that it was.
Yes.
And you just can't. Twitter is so dumb sometimes. Maybe all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's actually really cool because you just get to have like normal conversations with people about football and like things that you like and what you're excited about. But right now it's extra toxic. So anyways, right now it's just ridiculous because you can't say anything anymore without everything being called into question. But like, I don't know if I've ever been around a person who gives less of a shit what anyone else that thinks about him, especially people that he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. I think we all care about what the people that are close to us think about us and would listen to and accept criticism from them.
Sure.
But if you think Coach Prime cares about some random guy's arbitrary rankings list, you're telling on yourself that not only do you not know anything about him, but all you know about him is like some thing that some person said where like, oh, he's an egomaniac or something like that. Like you've just heard things, but you've never actually listened to any word that he says.
Yep. I think, was it you that posted the video from the press conference last year?
Yes.
You didn't make me, you can't break me.
Yes.
What makes you think that I care about your opinion of me?
Well, and the best part of that to me is, why would I care about your opinion of me? That is not the opinion that I have of myself.
Yes.
That's life advice.
100%.
And that's my favorite part about just being around Coach Prime is you actually can just like learn a lot if you just listen to what he says. But that's the only reason someone's opinion of you should matter in a negative light is if you allow that to become your opinion of yourself.
Mm-hmm. So Coach Prime quote tweeted Duke's tweet yesterday, said, "Thank you, my brother, for keeping some things unspoken. We love it when they assume." And then he capitalized ASS in assume.
Is that Coach Prime cursing?
I know. Crazy. Then he goes, LOL. The insanity is better than Sanford and Son at times. Crying, laughing emojis. Keep up the outstanding reporting and keep it 100. Relationships in this business is everything. God bless, my brother.
There you go.
100%. Shout out to our guy Dukes.
Yes, sir.
Last thing I got today, Bruce Feldman. He does this every year. Puts out his college football's freaks list. Basically, it's about the guys who are just the best athletes, who does the most freakish stuff in the weight room, on the field, and he just makes a whole list of it. Do you want to guess who number one is?
Number one should be Travis Hunter.
It's not. He's number 2.
We've
talked about him on this show. Recruiting wise, I'll give you that hint.
Oh, Nick Harbor.
Nick Harbor.
Okay.
Yep.
Nick Harbor, the cheesiest player in CFB 25.
Yeah, you see someone pick South Carolina, you know exactly what's going on.
The thing is, like, I kind of like when people do that because you're not beating me with him.
Oh, 100%. Same thing with Ohio State. And it's like, all right, you're just going to put Judkins in the game and just hit circle the whole time?
Yeah,
Let's see.
that's harder to defend than, like, if you got to pass the ball to Harbor, I will stop you from doing that.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But on Travis Hunter, the blurb here says, coaches have described him as a unicorn for the seemingly effortless way he can handle insane workloads. He plays both ways and on special teams and still makes big plays for the Buffs. Listed at 6'1", 185. The junior had 57. We know all the stats and stuff. But he mentioned his ball skills, great feel for the game, knowing where the holes are on defense. And he said he's so high up on this list because of his unique motor. Obviously, Travis, the workload that he goes through is it's unprecedented, honestly. I don't think we've ever seen that in college football. Played a total of 1,100 snaps, 102 snaps last year. Mentions that Real Analytics tweet from the TCU game where he chased down Trey Sanders on the big run, and he reached like 21.2 miles an hour. His closing speed on that interception in the third quarter, the diving one, the iconic one, and all that stuff. So, yeah, he's a rare talent.
One of one as far as my eyes have ever seen.
And then, so this list is very long, man. It's like 100 names. But I scrolled through here for a minute, and I think it wasn't till the 40s that I saw, or no, there's an Ohio State defensive lineman at 15, but not many other Big 12 players making this list, which further bolsters our argument that, well, we've got the best players on a week in, win out basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, football's a team sport. It's not like basketball where if you had 2 first-round picks on the court every game, it's going to determine a lot of outcomes. But at the same time, we've been talking about the Broncos in the office a lot recently, and just my whole thing is like there's no players on the team that you have to game plan for. The Buffs couldn't be more different. In fact, North Dakota State's defensive coordinator is probably not sleeping right now because you kind of have to game plan for everyone.
Yep.
You're game planning, of course, for Travis. It's one of those ones where there's not much you can do because every button you press, that Shedeur Sanders knows the other button.
Yep.
And that's what makes this so exciting for me. And we've talked about this a lot, but just to get into more detail about it, there's no right button. Shedeur will always have another answer.
Yep.
And so you're putting it on him, and it's why I talk so much about Shedeur and his mental aspect of the game being so valuable. There are quarterbacks out there in college and even the NFL where if you take away something from them, it's going to take them, a quarter, 2 drives before they start to figure out what else is out there for them.
Yes.
Shedeur is going to figure that out within that same series. If you want to double team Travis Hunter, he knows that now LeJontay has free reign, or Will Shepherd has free reign of the other side of the field. And so, like I said, you have to game plan for everything. And there's part of me that thinks that some teams might come out there and say, like, we can't actually overthink this. Because the more that we try to do, the harder it's actually going to be on our players. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of simple defenses. Maybe they're rolling coverages and things like that. But not as much like, we're going to try to eliminate Travis Hunter from the game plan. And more just like, okay, we're just going to force them to take what's underneath or something along those lines.
Next time we get a chance to talk to Shedeur and Pat Shurmur too, I kind of want to ask about Shedeur's control at the offensive or at the line of scrimmage, because just watching some well off and stuff, there's been mentions of Pat Shurmur going, that was a good audible. Like, I think Shedeur's gonna have a lot more control at the line of scrimmage this year. I think this offense is gonna allow that. Obviously, he mentioned the choice routes and all that. I think it's all gonna be on Shedeur Sanders' shoulders this season. At the line of scrimmage to get them in the right play, to trust his eyes, to trust what he's seen from the defense so far, and basically have a counterpunch like what you said, basically on a play-by-play basis.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Can't wait. Anything else before we get to questions?
I'm interested to see also if Shedeur is more willing to check into runs, especially not RPOs. Last year, like, it felt like 80% of the runs in the playbook were RPOs.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if it's hard for a quarterback, and it used to almost bother me when Peyton Manning did it. Because I was like, bro, every time you run the ball, it feels like you're doing them a favor. But you would look out there and see a 5-man box and just be like, I've got no choice but to hand this off to No Sean.
Right. Yep.
You know, I'm curious to see if they can get some of those running situations last year. To be fair, you know, the USC game when they had that long drive that everyone kind of was hand-wringing about, Shedeur said, well, they just kept giving us run looks, so I kept taking them. So it's not like he doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
But I think that there's something to setting the tone early in the season of the running backs building trust with Shedeur that, hey, I'm going to give you you're going to get 6-man boxes. You're going to get light boxes. You're going to get one linebacker behind the defensive line at some points. You got to make a miss.
Yep. Well, we talked about it last year. We didn't exactly get to see it come to fruition because of the offensive line and depth issues. But in theory, what this team is trying to do is spread you out, threaten you with these wide receivers with the chance of Shedeur going over the top to any of them. And then once you know the counterpunch to that, once you kind of figure that out, is to just run the ball in those light boxes, kind of like what you said. Like if this offense ideally functions, that's what it's based on right there.
Yep. Well, and as always, all conversations come back to the offensive line.
Yes.
You can't do that. You can't put that type of pressure on the defense if you can't protect Shedeur. If you can give him a full 3 seconds, we'll say, is like the old adage.
Right.
On a consistent basis, the defense is screwed.
Yes.
Last year, they started to realize, oh, we're going to give him about 1 second, and he's not going to be able to get us down the field. He's not going to be able to wait for that backside dig to come open because he knows it's coming open. He knows exactly what's going to happen damn near every time he stands out there.
Yep.
It's on the offensive line to give him that opportunity. And if they do, the actual sky is the limit.
100%, man. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'd appreciate your 5-star review as well. Who's up first? Kristen says, Jake and RK Unc recently used the words white privilege when referring to Keeler from the Denver Post. While Keeler certainly seems to act arrogant and privileged, why do you believe Neely uses white here? Because
well, first of all, I don't think either of us are qualified to answer that. That's a good question for Neely.
right.
But I think that the understanding of how race plays a role in all of this is pretty clear.
Of course. I mean, why did he use the term white? Well, Sean's white.
Yeah. But I mean, Neely's accessible. I'm not going to speak out of turn for him on that.
How far is the DNVR bar from Folsom Fields? 28 miles.
Oh, wow. You got the mileage?
I mean, I've had to track it, so.
You would know then. 28 miles. I don't know what that means. To me, it's about 35 minutes.
Yes. Pretty much. On a good day, yes. Adam Evans, is Juju coming or what? Are we all waiting patiently? Patience is a virtue, my friends. Can I share my theory?
Yeah.
My theory with this whole thing, and I told you yesterday after the show, because a lot of people are asking about Indiana right now because Tom Loy of 247, the director of recruiting there, keeps mentioning them. And then we talked about what Steve Wiltfong reported yesterday at On 3. And Steve Wiltfong always mentions USC. My theory is that Julian wants to do something similar to what Jordan Seaton did, which is kind of make it seem like Colorado came out of nowhere. We obviously know what's going on. You guys know what's going on. Like, it's not a secret there. But I think nationally, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like it's between USC, Auburn, Indiana, all these other schools. Colorado's just lurking. But we've obviously talked about him. You know what's up. So that's my theory.
Well, and not to try and co-opt your theory here, but there couldn't be more comparisons of the whole Jordan Seaton to Maryland thing that came up late and out of nowhere than the whole Juju to Indiana thing, which is kind of coming up late and out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere. They've always been kind of lurking in the shadows. Same thing with Maryland, right? It was like, for them, it was, oh, this is his hometown team. And Mike Loxley, I think that's his name, always pulls a cat out of the bag on signing day. Like, is this going to be the one? With Juju, it's like, oh, he's got this great relationship with Sunseri, and maybe they're being slept on, and maybe they are. But I just see there's like almost a pattern that these conversations take.
Yep.
And the truth is, not trying to make any accusations here, but the truth is, when your job is to follow this stuff, the same thing doesn't make a headline. So there has to be twists and turns to the story to keep people interested. And maybe sometimes the twists and turns are actually happening that naturally. But if you just come out and say it's USC and Colorado, it's USC and Colorado, it's USC and Colorado, well, that no one taps back in.
Right.
You say a new dark horse has entered the fray.
Yep.
Well, now everyone sits up in their chair and says, what's going on here?
Exactly. And I just remember, I can't remember what game it was, but I walked out of the CU Event Center in December after a game, and an On3 video popped up on my timeline about Jordan Seaton. This is before he committed. And they're asking guys from Tennessee, from Oregon, from Ohio State, who were in Jordan's top 7. And he's asking him, where do you think Jordan's going to go? Because that was the conversation that back then. It was, which of these blue bloods is he going to go to? Colorado wasn't nationally known. And all these reporters say another school but their own. So they all knew Jordan wasn't coming to their school.
Right, no one said
but
Colorado.
no one knew where, and no one knew Colorado. So that's what this whole situation reminds me of.
Apparently we're getting some crazy weather in Boulder right now.
Really?
Yeah, flash flooding and all sorts of crazy shit.
It did look dark and grim in the clouds up there when we were leaving.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting that way out here too.
Yep. What's up, Atlanta? Stay focused and informed. How many plays does Micah get in the first game against NDSU?
Such a great question. I'm going to say 10 to 12.
I could see that. I mean, obviously, if the game goes and Colorado dominates, I think Micah gets quite a few touches.
Yep.
But look, Uncle Neely was straight up today, saying that Dallin and Micah are really closing that gap on Charlie. Micah's going to get touches in week 1.
Oh, yeah.
To answer your question, though, I don't know, what'd you say?
10 to 12.
I'd probably go a little bit less for now, maybe like 5 to 8, but yeah.
I was thinking about this today. You mentioned the word dominant, and this just hit me. This is just, we're in that phase now where I'm thinking about Colorado football in every free moment.
Uh-huh.
Last year was about return to prominence. Colorado becoming a prominent name in the college football atmosphere.
Yeah.
This year it's about return to dominance.
Yes, sir. Cannot wait.
Sticking to that.
Put on a shirt.
Return to dominance might kind of hit.
D-Mills, another good question. When do they start game prep for a Thursday night game? So we also asked Uncle Neely about this. He basically said, and you said it off the top, Friday's like your last chance, really, to kind of show the coaches that you deserve to be in contention for, the 2 deep on the depth chart or something. So it sounds like after Friday and, starting with next week, they're going to really start with NDSU prep. And I think that's about what they did last year for TCU. It was about a week and a half, 2 weeks out from TCU that they started. So.
Yep. And yes, of course, we'll be at practice on Friday, and we will also be doing a recap after.
There you go.
And a post-game party here at the bar.
Come through.
What else are you going to do? It's Friday night.
Yep.
Well, don't you want to go hang out with a bunch of Buff fans afterwards?
Hell yeah. Drink some Coors Lights.
Hell yeah.
MLN, how excited are we about the old lineman transfer, Kardell Thomas? He has crazy tape. I truthfully haven't dug into the tape yet, but his recruiting pedigree. And then from what it sounds like from when he went to FAMU, he played a lot and graded out really, really well at FAMU. So this isn't just some guy, who was misrepresented in his initial recruiting rankings. I think his original recruiting ranking is for real, and that we got could have potentially got a massive gem in Kardell Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, he also has like some crazy like weightlifting stories and things like that around him. So
Yeah.
he's got a little bit of some hype around him.
Yep. DJ Mac Broncos 4. You think we get a new walkout song this year? That's a good question too. I don't know.
We did find out that they're going to be singing the fight song more often, which I know is important to people.
Yep.
The next one will be, are they running out behind Ralphie?
Coach made his feelings known about Ralphie. He's a little scared of her.
Maybe they've gotten closer over the years.
Only one Jay says, is it a possibility that it could be more of a mix at running back on a game-to-game basis? That's kind of what we saw last year. I think that was just more lack of having a true number
Just
one.
like
though.
praying someone would figure it out
Exactly.
and kind of hoping Dylan could break a few and whatever. I think you're going to see a pretty solid rotation.
Yep. Dion MC, we haven't heard or seen much of Nikhai Hill-Green in camp. Where is he on the depth chart? Yeah, haven't.
We'd have to ask Unc about it. But my thought here is that Trevor Woods is kind of
holding it down.
Yeah, his explosion and the way that he's transformed his body and the way that he's kind of taken that role by the reins has dimmed the Nikhai Hill-Green hype a little bit. That's just my guess.
Mm-hmm. We'll find out Friday. Powers asks, will you go live when Juju drops it? Of course.
Hell yeah.
Well, any running back rush for 1,000 yards? I don't think in this year's offense, no.
It's going to be a lot of yards. But I don't know. Maybe. I'll say maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. I think you're almost more likely to have 3 1,000-yard receivers than like 2 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah. I think in general, Colorado's rushing stats and totals will be higher and more efficient, but I don't know. I do think that we'll see still some bit of a rotation at running back, especially if we go into week 1 and it's, if Charlie's starting week 1 too, I think the competition could still carry over into the early part of the season,
Yep.
Anything else today? When will the new uniforms drop? I would not bet on anything before the game against North Dakota State.
I think I'm going to bet that we get something the week of the game.
Okay.
Maybe even the week before. So I guess that would be next week. Think about it, though. They're already going to dominate the conversation. Like Wednesday TV shows are talking about Thursday. Thursday TV shows are talking about the game that night. Friday is reacting to it. Colorado's going to dominate college football that whole week already.
Mm-hmm.
You drop the new uniforms a week from today, you get a whole nother day where all anyone can talk about is Colorado.
I mean, true.
But we also might just find out on game days.
I mean, to what you said, though, Colorado's going to be the talk of college football no matter what, though, as well.
It's true.
Next question.
Next question.
That's it for today.
All right.
Enjoy your trip.
Yeah, business trip. But I'll be back. I'll be back Friday for practice, and we'll be back here at the bar. So I'll see you guys then.
And I'll be back tomorrow. Dre or Unc, someone will be here. We'll see. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.